and then any kind of questions we can answer.
Sir, I have a preliminary doubt. Initially, in our school days, we studied it as Harappan culture, then Sindhu culture, and now Saraswati came. And from today's session, I understood that Narmada is also in the line. So, Sindhu, Saraswati, Narmada culture. That's how you. So, is there a possibility that later, as the excavation progresses, archaeological studies increases, more river basins will be added to this period? Uh, so-called Harappan civilization or Mohenjo-daro civilization.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually, many have asked that question. So there was so many contemporary cultures because we name the culture based on some similarities. So, for example, in the southern India, especially the coastal regions, like in the Kerala, there is a Patana, Marichi Patana, like that. It is a Musiris, which is very close to Kodungalur. And in Tamil Nadu, in the Pandya region, that is southern Pandya, we have a place called Korke. Korke, that was mentioned in the Ramayana as Kavata. That is similar. Kavata is having a similar meaning like Dwaraka. So both that meaning, that entrance or entry, something like gateway of India in Mumbai now. So it has purpose is like it is like accepting ships, like seafaring ships from faraway countries. So that is why the name Dwaraka is there, Kavata is there, both name door or entrance. And this signifies that there was existing in a maritime culture. And this maritime culture currently it is highly debated that they may be old as 2000 BC or even like contemporaneous to the mature Harappan civilization. So, but even then, that civilization is contemporaneous with the mature Harappan. There are two theories about it because, as far as one theory, they are the oldest. They are only as old as 1000 BC, etc., or 1500 BC. But there is another important possibility that, and this is an alternate theory that they are a little more older. Like instead of 1500 BC, they are as old as 2500 BC, or in a very stretched, far-fetched. Some of the theorists say that they are as old as 3000 BC. That means they are even contemporaneous with the early Harappan. I mean, at least some part of the early Harappan. But the major consensus, the more scholarly consensus about the ancientness of these cities is 1000 BC, etc. That is that is the current consensus about Musiris and Korke and such port cities in the coast of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So in the Kerala, that is the Churni River or the Periyar River, that mouth of the Periyar River, we have a big settlement currently called Patana, and it is mentioned in the Ramayana as Marichi Patana, and even in the Mahabharata, I am writing the third book. In that, it is mentioned as Murachi Patana. Just a small difference in the name. But the Patana is there in both cases. In Ramayana and Mahabharata, Patana is mentioned. Marichi Patana or Murachi Patana. So in Ramayana it is Marichi Patana, and Mahabharata is Murachi Patana, and it is Musiris. So currently, as I write the book, there is no scholarly consensus about the ancientness of either Musiris, that is Marichi Patana, or Korke, that is Kavata. So because of that, I was not able to include it in conclusive manner into my books. But there is a very high possibility that these coastal cities in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and of course similar kind of cities in Kalinga, that is Manipura, mentioned as Manipura, the city of wife of Arjuna's, Arjuna's wife Chitrangada's city in Kalinga, that is Manipura. All these could be contemporaneous with the mature Harappan. Very high likelihood is there, but scholarly consensus is not at reached. Second, they are not considered as, even if they are ancient, they are not considered as part of the Harappan culture, because Harappan culture have some commonalities, etc. That is why even in the map I have shown, very close to Harappan culture, some places, some cultures are named Aharbanas culture. Just I will take it. So it is only a terminology, basically, a terminology problem. But as far as practice is concerned, see, there are names like this, right? Even just very near to the Harappan civilization itself, we use different names. So that is some because of the difference in the culture, that names are given. So, for example, this culture is very close, or this culture is very close, but still it is not named as Harappan culture. It is a contemporaneous to see these cultures are contemporaneous in 1900 BC. All these cultures are existing in 1900 BC, but still we are not calling it. This particular red color is given because there are commonalities, and this purple color is given for OCP because it's a contemporaneous, but it is a different culture. So similar way, in the southern, like our south of Narmada, we can have many contemporaneous cultures. And one more point, there is one culture along Narmada, which is Stone Age culture, which is 26,000 BC. Because the settlement, series of caves, in the Bhimbedka, there is evidence of existence of people living there in that cave, and that goes back to 26,000 BC. So it is older than the Ṛgveda actually. But its cultural attributes are different, so we are not calling it part of that same name. We are not giving that same name. So I think it's clear actually. And, yeah.
I think there are different schools of thought on yugas. Some actually take it mathematically that so many years, 432,000 years,
Yeah,
etc. So
yes. So I am now recently last 2-3 days I am in the social media. I'm giving the correct picture. So if anybody have a similar doubt, when we look for the lifetime of the Pandavas, we have to stick with whatever the yugas that Pandavas have followed, and that is the 5-year yuga. And I can also tell where it is appearing. Like there is a kind of a conflict, dispute between Duryodhana and Bhishma about whether the Pandavas completed the 13 years properly. And then the Bhishma is telling about the current calendar system and during the contemporary calendar system that is followed during the Bhishma's lifetime. Bhishma's lifetime means Pandava's lifetime. So he was mentioning that every 5 years we will add 2 months to the calendar. That system is defined in Vedanga Jyotisha as well. So that is why we say Pandavas were following the yuga system followed in the Vedanga Jyotisha. That is the oldest astronomy text. So that is the Panchavarshi. There, Bhishma is defining the Panchavarshya Yuga. That means 5 years, lunar years, they will follow. After 5 lunar years, there will be a discrepancy of 2 months between a lunar year and solar year, because lunar year is smaller than the solar year. Because lunar months are calculated based on the motion of moon. So moon completes one revolution in 29 days. Actually, it is 29.5, but it may be usually approximated 29 days. So 29 multiplied by 12 is 358 days. That is 12 days short of solar year. And solar year is basically 30 days into 12, so 360 days. So between 360 days solar year and 358 days lunar year, there is a gap of 12 years. After 5 years, this 12-year gap of 12 days, and after 5 years, 12 days become 60 days. When it becomes 60 days, it is equal to 2 months of 30 days. So they will add that 2 months. This was the principle followed during the lifetime of the Pandavas. And the Bhishma says Pandavas have completed 13 years, including all the Adhimasas that are accumulated in the 13 years. So that there is no dispute that they have not completed 13 years. Like that, he clarifies to Duryodhana. So this conversation is there in the Virata Parva, and that conversation clearly shows the Pandavas were following 5-year yuga. That is why we cannot go by this 43 lakhs 20,000 yuga system that is developed during the Aryabhata period. Because if you follow that, we are not doing justice to the lifetime of the Pandavas. And so that yuga system is not applied to the Pandavas. And of course, in the Ramayana, similar kind of conversation is not there, but we can safely assume that Ramayana period, because the chariots, cities, everything is similar like whatever is in the Mahabharata. There is no difference. And so many number of people, like in the lifetime of Rama, is also available present during the lifetime of Pandavas, like Parashurama, for example. Parashurama have a kind of conflict with Sri Rama during his marriage. And same Parashurama gave instruction. He taught Bhishma. And I mentioned Rama and Shantanu are contemporary. So one competitor of Sri Rama, that is Parashurama, is teaching the son of Shantanu contemporary to Sri Rama, and everything perfectly matches. So because of that, Pandava era and Rama era, between them there are no big differences. So whatever actual calculation I have done is with as a result of my writing of 3 books, where I do all the calculations of age calculations, and then I got the correct or whatever result come from my calculation is Rama is around birth of Rama is around 1940 BC, and Pandava somewhat in the 1830 some period like that. I have exact dates I have given in the third book in the geography of Ramayana. I made an Excel sheet of it, and exact date of birth of each personality like Shantanu, Rama, Parashurama, and Pandavas, Bhishma, even Dronacharya and Kripacharya, all the exact date of birth of each of them I have calculated and provided, and everything falls within 200 years. So Pandava era and Rama era, there are not big different. Both of them were following the Panchavarsha Yuga of Vedanga Jyotisha, which is the oldest text. And Vedanga Jyotisha itself is the latest date. The current dating for Vedanga Jyotisha is contemporaneous with Sri Rama and Pandava, somewhat between 1800 BC to 1700 BC. The Vedanga Jyotisha text also emerged. And this is also based on some astronomy calculations, some observation of nakshatras mentioned in the Vedanga Jyotisha, and corroborating with the Archaeostro, this planetarium software, something like how we calculate Kurukshetra war. Same methodology was used for calculating the date of Vedanga Jyotisha, and current dating we get is 1800 or even 1900 BC to 1700 BC. Same Aidihasik period, 1900 BC to 1700 BC, where Rama and Pandavas were born. During the exactly same period, Vedanga Jyotisha also emerged as a corollary of Vedas. Because Vedas are ending around 1900 BC, Ṛgveda is ending around 1900 BC. And immediately, period after that, they have strengthened the astronomical principles and then made the Vedanga Jyotisha. And 2 more points, Iron Age. Earlier it was Iron Age in India was dated to 1200 BC. And just before writing my book, the archaeologists have upgraded the Iron Age to 2000 BC. So I have included that in my book. Similarly, Vedanga Jyotisha was also dated to 1300 to 1300 BC, 1300 and 1400 BC. Before writing my book, Dr. Ashok Bhatnagar and others have upgraded the Vedanga Jyotisha date to 1900 to 1700 BC. So I use the I took the advantage of both of the dating in my three books, and that is why I was able to propose Ṛgveda, that synchrony of Ṛgveda and Ramayana, Rama's dating. I was able to do it for between 2000 BC to 1800 BC, because Iron Age date is supporting my dating, and Vedanga Jyotisha date is also supporting my dating. And last two, see, you may be seeing so many more older dates for Rama 5114 BC, 12,209 BC, etc. Because just floating in the air, basically, because there is no city in say Ayodhya city itself. Even I am struggling to get a date of 2000 BC. The current latest data that is coming from archaeology is 1800 1750 BC. And I said that I discussed with archaeologists that I said like I am going with the date of 1940 BC for Sri Rama, but in Ayodhya we are getting only 1750 BC dates. So can we? There is a gap of around around 200 years. So this kind of dates keep on changing, because there is a variability of 200 years plus or minus for all the archaeological dates. So I can safely go with my date. So I got that conclusion, and then I was able to assert into my book that 1940 BC is the birth of Ram. So this much detailing and cautiousness we are doing for giving the dating, whereas there are researchers just floating in the air and giving some other dates, where we are struggling to get a date of 2000 BC from Ayodhya, and then they say Rama is born in 5114 BC, or even exaggerating even further and saying in the Ice Age period 12,000 209 BC Rama is born. So they are just, it's just floating in the air. They are not concerned about archaeology or anything. And there is no sincerity or any kind of sensitivity that they can just give any date and just get away with that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
So I think we can conclude the day.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.